Hey bookworms, it's Jade from Bedtime Bookworm and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you the mid-year check-in tag. Now that June is finally over, I feel like I can do my mid-year tag. I know a lot of people started doing them last month, but I wanted to wait until the end of June so that I could include all of the books that I read in June in this tag. And I'm glad that I did because I had a really good reading month in June. So a lot of people do the mid-year freakout tag, and I have done that tag before, but I think it was last year or maybe the year before that Harriet Rosie created the mid-year check-in tag. The questions are slightly different from the mid-year freakout tag, and I actually prefer these questions. So last year I did this one instead of the freakout tag, and I want to do it again this year. I'll link Harriet Rosie's 2019 edition down in the description box so that you guys can go check her out. Question number 1 is, how many books have you read so far this year? As of the end of June, I have read 31 books, which puts me 5 books ahead of my Goodreads goal of 52 books. I don't think I've ever been this far ahead of my reading goal before. The last few months, I have just been reading so many books and really enjoying a lot of the books that I'm reading too. I feel like I'm having the best reading year that I've ever had before. Question number 2 is, what is your favorite book so far this year? I just counted, and out of the 31 books that I've read, 16 of them have been 5-star reads, so slightly more than half. I don't know what's gotten into me, but I've just been loving so much of what I've been reading. Granted, 2 of those were rereads, Wheel of Time books, and then 2 of them were the last 2 books in the Wheel of Time series that were not rereads, but obviously I loved those. And then some of them were definitely more like 4.5-star books that I was rounding up to 5, but still, that's a lot of 5-star books. My point is that it's really hard for me to pick my favorite book because I've just read so many good ones, but I of course do have an answer for this. I'm not going to cheat and do any runner-ups or anything like that. My favorite book that I've read so far this year is The Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I just had so much fun when reading that book, and I still remember like how excited I was to talk about it.
I realized during editing that I didn't really go into what this book is about or why I loved it so much. I'm just going to link you guys my wrap-up where I talk about it. It's still one of my favorite wrap-ups that I've ever done because you can just see my excitement and my enthusiasm for the book just like rolling off the screen. I really wish I had done a standalone book review for this, but I never got around to it. Maybe if/when I reread this book, I'll do a separate book review for it at that point.
I definitely had some other books that were cutting it close to that one, but I think that's the one that I've enjoyed the most this year. Question number 3, what's the most disappointing book that you've read this year? I really haven't had that many disappointing books this year, but I think my answer for this is going to be Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. I did give it 3 stars, but it was definitely on the lower end of 3 stars for me, and I had higher hopes for it than that because it's a book that's gotten a lot of love by a lot of people, I feel like. And the premise of it was so interesting, especially with it being based on Navajo mythology. I just thought it sounded really cool. But yeah, I just didn't really like it that much. Question number 4, what genre have you read the most this year? As always, the genre that I've read the most is fantasy, although the last few months I've definitely been reading a lot of other things, but they've been in a variety of genres, so none of them add up to more than the amount of fantasy that I've been reading. I just counted, and it looks like 14 of the books that I've read have been high fantasy. Question number 5 is, name a new favorite author that you've discovered this year. And because Samantha Shannon was a new to me author, I have to say Samantha Shannon. She has an older series that I am now dying to read because I enjoyed The Priority of the Orange Tree so much. I will go ahead and give some extra answers for this one because I feel like that's a little bit of double dipping, even though it's just the truth. I'll list off some other new to me authors that I've really enjoyed, but it's hard to say if they're favorites because when you've only read one book by someone, you don't know if that's like the only one by them you're going to like or if you're going to like more of their stuff. So really recently I've read and really enjoyed Dawn Kurtagich and Lisa Wingate and Scott Smith. All 3 of those were authors of books that I talked about in my last wrap-up and gave 5 stars. There's also Lauren James, Mira Grant, Brent Weeks, Emma Newman. I've definitely tried a lot of new authors that I have really enjoyed, and I'm looking forward to trying more of their books to see if they really make it up into my favorites or not. Question number 6, What's the most surprisingly good book you've read so far this year? For this one, I think I'm going to say Planetfall by Emma Newman. I did only give it 4 stars, but it was definitely a very high 4 stars. And this one was a surprise just because I don't feel like I hear a lot of people talking about her that often. Maybe I just don't watch enough science fiction booktubers. Maybe she's really big in like this science fiction booktube world. But I feel like I haven't heard that many people talk about her before, and so I wasn't expecting a whole lot going into it, even though I guess when I looked on Goodreads, a couple people that I trusted had given this good ratings. But yeah, I just didn't have very high expectations going into it, and it ended up really surprising me. There are definitely a lot of other books that I really enjoyed this year, obviously, but they weren't really a surprise because I had already heard a lot about them or was like already really anticipating them. So out of all the ones that I've read this year, I think that one's probably the most surprising. Question number 7. What are your favorite and most anticipated 2019 releases? Well, my favorite 2019 release is, of course, going to be Priority of the Orange Tree. I've only read 6 new releases out of the 31 books that I've read this year, which is actually kind of on the high side for me, I feel like. I try not to read too many new releases, and out of those 6, it's definitely by far the Prior of the Orange Tree. As far as still anticipated for the rest of the year, that would probably be The Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. I'm already a Leigh Bardugo fan. I've really enjoyed all of her books. And this is her first foray into adult or maybe new adult, and the premise sounds super interesting. It's a contemporary fantasy all about the secret societies at Yale, which she said she based on her own experiences at Yale. I guess there are like really secret societies there, which I didn't know. But there is so much hype for this book. Hopefully I'm not getting overexcited for it, but because I've enjoyed so many of her other books, I'm really excited about this one. I'm definitely interested to see what her writing is going to be like when she's not set in the Grisha world, because so far everything that she's written and that I've read by her is set in the Grisha world. Question number 8. What's your next big priority for reading? That's a tough question. Big priority? I don't really have like a single big priority, at least not in the near future. I mean, I'm trying to stick to the books that I have on my TBR because I've already picked up a couple of books that aren't on it and it's only July. So I'm hoping that for the rest of this month and next month, I can stick to my TBR. I guess maybe just the Bloody Beach read-along that I'm participating in. There are 4 books that are part of the read-along and I haven't started any of them. I just went and bought one of the books today, and as soon as I finish the ebook that I'm currently reading, that's the next ebook that I'm gonna read. Well, and I guess that's the other thing. I'm in the middle of 4 books right now, and your girl needs to finish something. I have been making progress on almost all of them. Question number 9 is, what's been your bookish highlight of the year so far? I'd have to say my bookish highlight has just been being a part of the World Hoppers crew. I've had so much fun getting to know these other creators and getting to talk to them outside of like their comment section. Now I'm actually friends with some of these booktubers that I used to just watch their content. It's just been something that has been really fun for me, and I am so grateful to Elliot for thinking of me and inviting me to join in because it's been such a blast. Question number 10 is, who do you tag? I'm actually not going to tag anyone, partially because so many people have already done the mid-year freakout tag, but also I feel like this is just a mid-year tag that anybody can do. So if you're a booktuber and you haven't done a mid-year tag of any kind and you like the questions in this one, then I tag you. Definitely do it and let me know so that I can come see your answers to these questions. Let me know down in the comment section what has been your favorite book that you've read this year, the most surprising book that you've read this year, and the most disappointing book that you've read this year. I think those are the 3 most interesting questions. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you like bookish content. That is all I have for now. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bookworms, keep reading. Bye. And then 2 of them were, and I will go ahead, but because I'm enjoying, but bye.